Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of Global Therapy Talks, where we host researchers, we host experts to have conversations that drive change, conversations mostly around the SDGs. Ladies and gentlemen, tonight we are going to host a guest speaker, and our guest speaker is a political scientist with expertise in global politics, international relations, diplomacy, human rights, and policy analysis. Our guest tonight is also someone who is very well educated and well trained in this field. He has a master's degree in political science with a major in global politics from Malmö University, Sweden. He also has a bachelor's degree in development studies from Kyambogo University, Uganda. He also has a diploma in law from the Law Development Center in Kampala. He has a couple of certificates. Among the certificates, he has certificate in peacekeeping missions from the United Nations. He also has certificate in volunteering for sustainable development from also United Nations Learning, certificate in Child Rights Toolkit, also from United Nations Learning, certificate in human rights from the United Nations for Human Rights Organization in US. He also has certificate in project management foundations. He is also a very experienced individual. He has over 7 years of experience with demonstrated expertise in data analytics, global politic analysis, international relationships through peacekeeping missions, and research that support sustainable peace. He also has a lot of work experience, like I said. He's currently working as an inspection and evaluation officer at the Office of the International Oversight Services, United Nations, at the UN base Entebbe. He is also a founder. He has founded the Science Foundation, so he has also managed a couple of projects with the foundation. He has also worked as Assistant Program Manager at Extralink Services Limited, where he has collaborated with the government of Uganda and the Office of the Prime Minister on successful projects. He has accomplished very many projects through his community involvement and the Rotary Club. He has worked on the Safe Life Project with the Rotary Club. He has worked with Kakuba Literacy Project in Jinja. Our guest tonight is also someone who is well versed with research. He has several publications. One of the main ones is the International Criminal Court Question in Uganda, an analysis of the International Criminal Court interventions in Uganda. A very good publication that you need to check it out. He's also an established leader. He also ran for former district councillor candidate for Busede County, Jinja district in Uganda. He has a lot of honors and awards. He's a Swedish Institute Scholarship alumni. He's involved in a lot of networks and is a member of very many networks. He's a member of the Swedish Institute Scholars. He's also Assistant Events Director with the Swedish Alumni Network of Uganda. He's a member of the Malmö International Rotary Club, Sweden. He's also a member of Malmö University Scholar. He's also a Google Scholar. He's a member of the Rotaract Club of Kyambogo. And above all, he's the first global political scholar in Uganda. Ladies and gentlemen, meet Mundu Kenneth Sayansi. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Mr. Mike, for hosting me on this show. It's quite very interesting that again I'm here to discuss matters regarding Sustainable Development Goal 16. As you address the question, Sustainable Development Goal 16 is really very wide. But what comes to your mind if we look at Sustainable Development Goal 16? The most important thing that we focus on is peace. The second one is promotion of justice for all. And then the third one is creation of strong institutions. But how do we promote peace? We promote peace by encouraging that wars should end by 2030. How do we promote justice? We promote justice through encouraging creation of strong institutions, institutions at national level, institutions at international level. At national level, we look at institutions such as the National Courts of Law, and at international level, we look at International Criminal Court to make sure that justice is served to the victims. And then the last one, as I talked about, is creation of strong institutions, which I mentioned earlier, Mr. Mike, but also to go deep into the sub targets of Sustainable Development Goal 16. It also looks at ending organized crime by 2030. What are some of the organized crimes that we look up to? We have organized crimes such as human trafficking, whereby humans are gotten, especially around Africa, and taken to other parts of the world to offer slavery, to offer forced labor. So this is Sustainable Development Goal 16 is here to make sure that organized crimes such as human trafficking ends by the year 2030. Another one is drug trafficking. Since time memorial, this has been a very bad challenge world over. We've had cases of drug trafficking. So this Sustainable Development Goal 16 is here to make sure that by the year 2030, drug trafficking is put to a hold or is put to an end. So Sustainable Development Goal 16 is really, really very, very wide. But of course, as we go further, we shall have again time to unpack it. Maybe also to look at another aspect of the sub target that I should discuss with you is making sure that there is promotion of global inclusive governance. What do we mean by this, Mr. Mike? We look at things like equality. We look at things at political participation. What does it entail to be actively participating in politics of a certain nation? We look at by 2030, all the states, all the member states of the UN should be in position to actively participate in a nation's elections, free and fair elections, should be in position to legally and freely hold public office. So this is part of global inclusive governance that this Sustainable Development Goal is looking forward to promote by the year 2030. Yeah.
Yes, you've talked about something that is very quite interesting to me.
Yeah.
You talked about the SDGs focusing on, I'll just talk about one element of peace,
Yeah.
which I think it's quite interesting to me. Now, when we look at areas like the Middle East,
Yeah.
you realize that currently there's war going on there
Yeah.
between Israel and the Palestine.
Yeah.
But there's something that is quite interesting to me when you look at the assassination of Yahya Sinwar.
Yeah.
Now, what is the impact of this on attaining the SDG? Could you maybe throw some light on it?
Yeah, thank you so much, Mr. Mike. But before I go to that question, I would like to also to add on that Sustainable Development Goal 16 actually is the mother of all the rest of the goals. For example, if you look at without peace, we cannot be in position to attain quality education, which is also a Sustainable Development Goal that we are yet to unpack. We cannot be in position to attain good health care. And even of recent, we discussed about, you unpacked about Sustainable Development Goal 11, which promotes, smart cities. So this goal is the mother of all goals. In all aspects, we need to promote Sustainable Development Goal 16 to make sure that the rest of the goals are achieved. Because without peace, and we have lots of wars in the world, it means the other goals will be affected. But also to go to dive into the question that you posed, is such a wonderful question. Of course, the war in Middle East has been in existence for a very long time. But I would like to give you a background of that war, how it came up. One of the reasons as to why we have wars and conflicts is because of, one is greed for power. For example, if you look at countries like Central African Republic, we have conflicts in there. We have the anti-Balaka versus the Seleka movement. We have conflicts around the Democratic Republic of Congo, whereby we have ADF. We have conflicts even in Ukraine versus Russia. These conflicts,
Absolutely.
Sustainable Development Goal 16 is here to make sure that these conflicts are stopped by the year 2030. I would like to proceed. I was just giving you a brief, examples of the conflicts around the world. But as I proceed towards the question that you've asked me, of course, if we go to Middle East, it should be remembered that Israel was just created in the year 1948, and this war has been in existence. Actually, most officials, or officials from Israel government or Israel faction, believe that Palestine should not be in existence, and even administrators or officials in Palestine believe that Israel should not exist. So that's the primary cause of this conflict in this era. Uh, Move further and look into the details of this war, it should be remembered that on 7th October 2023, that's when Hamas, actually the leader, Yahya Sinwar, made or launched an attack on Israel, whereby civilians were killed in a music festival, which was Nova Music Festival, and thousands of people actually lost their lives. We look at such conflict that should end by 2030. To further move into details of that very conflict, we look at Israel also of recent actually. Benjamin Netanyahu made a remark or made a statement that Israel is in a war trying to defend itself, meaning that the war is not here to end. And the Sustainable Development Goal 16 is here to make sure that the war should end.
Yes.
So basically, this war is here to make sure that there's a lot of conflicting interest between two countries. But how do we make sure that Sustainable Development Goal 16 poses this or puts an end to this conflict in Middle East? Yeah.
Thank you very much. There's something you said which is quite interesting. You said SDG 16 is the mother of all SDGs, how you put it, which I believe that is something I'm actually learning from you today, which is very, very important.
Yeah.
Now, I'm thinking about something, yeah? What do we need to do to achieve this SDG you said by 2030? What do we really need to do?
Well, but before we go to that, what we need to do, we should look at also the reason, the state in which Yahya Sinwar was assassinated. What's the impact? How does it impact the goals, the Sustainable Development Goal? I believe that before we go to that, there is an impact. But if you look at that, the assassination of Yahya Sinwar, actually, there are about 3 or 4 things that I would like to mention about how this will impact the Sustainable Development Goal 16. One, the assassination of Yahya Sinwar will damage or will weaken the institutions that were already in place. For example, the national courts of law that were already in Israel or were already set up in some parts of Palestine. These conflicts, actually, if they're in existence, these wars cause damage because of the fightings, because of the attack. So such institutions, if they are damaged during wars, it means that civilians or victims will not be in position actually to achieve or to receive justice. The other thing that I would like to look at still regarding the war of the Middle East is, or regarding the assassination of Yahya Sinwar and how it will impact the Sustainable Development Goal 16. It will be an obstacle to dialogue and reconciliation because the part of Hamas, their leaders being assassinated, meaning that these people might not be in position or might not be willing to go into dialogue and reconcile to make sure that at least we attain peace by 2030. So basically, we need to include a lot of effort to make sure that at least a lot has to be done to achieve sustainable peace within that region. And the other reason that maybe I look at after the assassination of Yahya Suna and how it impacts the Sustainable Development Goal 16 is it might weaken the leadership of Hamas. It might bring in, divisions within the Hamas leaders trying to fight for the power. Of course, the assassination, Yahya Sinwar was a very influential and a foundation to the Hamas. So basically, with the absence of Yahya Sinwar, it will create a power vacuum, meaning that these people will be fighting, for power. These people will be fighting for leadership, and of course, during that course of fighting for leadership, it will cause or it will escalate the conflict even to move way beyond. The other reason that we look at that might impact still is there will be increased human rights violence.
Absolutely.
So we look at the Sustainable Development Goal 16 looks at promotion of human rights, that at least by 2030, the human rights should be observed. But the assassination of Yahya Sinwar, if we look at it in detail, there will be increase in human rights violation. We all know that we have a right to life, but during the
Absolutely.
fights, actually, people lose lives. And this
Agreed.
is within the United Nations Sustainable Development Goal report of 2024. It reflects that there is a steep, relation whereby in 2015 the rise of conflicts was a little bit high, but during 2023 that's when again it rose up. During the COVID moment, there was a reduction in conflicts just because of the COVID. All nations, all the economies were closed, but during around 7th October of 2023 there was an increase of conflicts whereby Hamas actually made an attack on Israel. So basically, very many people actually lost their lives during that. The report shows that there was an increase in conflicts around 2023. The other reason that I may look up to is obstacle to I already mentioned that obstacle to dialogue and reconciliation. I already mentioned that. The other one is increased radicalization is another one that I think that it will happen after assassination of Yahya Sinwar. The fact that he was a very influential and foundation of the mass faction. His assassination might lead to increased recruitment of marginalized people to join and also make revenge, which will even at the end escalate the conflicts within the Middle East. Yeah.
Yeah, you've unpacked a lot of things actually.
Yeah.
I'm quite learning a lot from you today, and
Thank
you being the expert, it's very interesting.
Yeah.
If we had time, I think I would have learned much, much, much more from you. But then there's something that has struck my mind once again. It seems that this war, we don't know when it might end.
Yeah.
But then I'm also thinking in regards to the SDGs. Do you think we are making progress in regards to this sustainable development goal?
Well, that's a very wide question. But if I may refer to the Middle East, whereby we've been discussing about, maybe we shall have other time and we come on the panel, we discuss more about conflicts around the world. I think there is progress. But it is on a slow pace. Because peace, it's a transition to attain peace. It's not a one-day thing. It involves dialogue. It involves reconciliation. So it's a process that we need to involve with, and different state actors and non-state actors should come on board and make sure that there is progress. But to further move into details regarding your question, I think within Middle East, there is no progress that is being made, because you can look at the conflict within there, that every party believes that this nation should not exist and this one should not exist, making sure that there is a fight and the conflict also making sure that it escalates. If you look at that, if I say that there is no progress yet in the Middle East, we look at Israel and we look at Palestine. Who is behind Palestine and who is behind Israel? We have powerful nations like United Kingdom. We have powerful nations like US. We have powerful nations like Germany that are behind Israel. And on the other side, Iran is behind Palestine. We have Iraq behind Palestine. We have Hezbollah from Lebanon is behind Palestine. We have the Houthi from Yemen. They are behind Palestine. We have the Hamas from the Gaza Strip that is fighting on behalf of the Palestine, making sure that they also fight for their rights. They are also standing forward, making sure that at least they achieve justice. So basically, there is limited progress in terms of peace. Yeah.
Yes. Well, that is quite very interesting because when you look at this war, it has been going on for a while now.
Yeah.
But then earlier on, you talked about 2030 being around the corner.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking that I know this is something that really matters a lot because as earlier on you said that peace is the mother of all these SDGs. Without peace, we cannot have functioning hospitals and all those things. So you talked about dialogue, but then can you maybe tell the viewers out there what do we need to do to achieve this SDG?
Thank you so much, Mr. Mike, for that question. Our viewers, I think if we need to attain peace, peace starts with you. It's a choice to move for peace. It's a choice to campaign for peace. It's a choice to support peace. Take an example of countries like Switzerland. Switzerland is a neutral country. There is need to promote neutrality among nations that have arms, that have powerful weapons, that have autonomous weapons. It is high time to make sure that these weapons can be laid down and we promote neutrality. Of recent, actually, Sweden has been on the neutral side, but also of recent joined NATO. But it has been neutral ever since First World War and then Second World War. So one thing that has to be done is it is a choice, and peace begins with you. The second one I talked about neutrality. We should promote neutrality among sovereign states. That actually these arms or these autonomous weapons can be laid down, and we shall have peace, and we can even attain a sustainable development goal within 2030. The other aspect that I may look up to, especially regarding the Middle East conflict, is promotion or establishment or creation of a two-state solution. If we recognize Israel to be a free sovereign state, then it means that even Palestine can be recognized as a free sovereign state. If we promote the two-state solution, then it means that this war can come to an end. Then it means that we can achieve sustainable peace within the region within 2030.
Thank you very much. This comes to my mind. Do you think it is achievable?
Yeah, Mr. Mike, I think it's very achievable. Achieving peace begins with you.
You said it right.
Like I told you, if at all you're willing to lay down the arms, if at all you're willing to not use autonomous weapons, these are weapons that can target or hit or shoot or make an attack without instructions from human. You can look at such an instance that if those weapons are used actually right now, then the world will be at stake. But if we make sure that we let down the weapons, then it means that we can achieve this Sustainable Development Goal 16 by 2030. But however, that will be a right to peace. There will be just a relative peace. It will require a lot of aspects for us to be in position to fully attain this Sustainable Development Goal 16 by 2030. because it will require like establishment of strong institutions, for example, courts of law, national courts of law, international courts of law, which might have been affected or demolished actually during the conflicts or during the war. So it will take some time for us to achieve that. But the road to peace, the road to sustainable peace, I believe we can achieve it by 2030. But establishment of strong uh, institutions, for example, courts of law, will take, of course, some time for us to redevelop our nations, or Middle East to redevelop their nations. Yeah,
Yes, thank you very much.
yeah.
You've really unpacked a lot of things. Hopefully, next time we can have you again on the panel and we dive more into these SDGs, especially from the context of a country like Uganda, which, if you get time, please pass by. Our viewers out there, you've heard from the expert. SDG 16 is the mother of all the SDGs. Without it, we cannot have good health, we cannot have quality education, we cannot even have sustainable cities. So, as the scholar has said, listen to what he has said. We all have a right to participate. Mr. Kenneth,
Yes, sir.
say a few words, your last words to the viewers out there.
Well, thank you, Mr. Mike, for this opportunity. Well, first, it goes back to the management of Global Teleport Talks. We really appreciate you, coming up with this platform whereby experts actually are invited or hosted to make sure that they discuss conversations that drive change. To our viewers, of course, without you, we wouldn't be in this position trying to discuss these conversations that drive change. The most important thing that we may humbly request you is please follow up the page, get interested into this session, and keep watching, keep sharing the information. Stay blessed. Thank you.
Our viewers out there, you've heard correctly from our guest tonight. We hope you've learned a few things from our guest tonight. Uh, Hit that subscribe button, follow us. This is a channel, a platform where we have conversations that drive change. Stay tuned for more. Thank you.